It's like an actual monster. I'm gonna go and hit it with my fucking greatsword.
All right, let me take him away. There we go.
Wait, that was great. How did you do that?
And then now I pet him and he's back into his existence. It's my Palico, by the way.
That's the intro. That's the intro for the episode.
Yeah. Now go away. He's my summon. And he's back.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, Content Farm episode 7. This episode's a really fucking big deal because this time we actually have a highly prestigious, highly reputable, borderline royalty guest, unlike the fucking scrub we had on last time. Matthew McCleskey.
Wait.
Matthew
Poor
McCleskey, welcome to Content Farm.
Thanks. Who was last time?
It doesn't matter. But thank you so much for coming on. I've been really looking forward to it. I know you're probably quite a busy guy, and it's Sunday afternoon. At least it's Sunday afternoon your time zone, right? It's Sunday afternoon, so I appreciate you taking the time out of your Sunday to come and chat with us. That's really cool. Thank you very much.
Sure, of course.
Okay. All right. So,
well,
Sean,
Peter, I was going to introduce you.
Matthew, this is Sean.
Hi.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's a YouTube creator. He was working on Absinthe style videos way before I was, and he actually helped me try to figure out how to do it at the start. He's definitely one of the more successful ones, if not the most successful one, right below Joel Haver, I guess.
I'm sensing some jealousy.
Yeah. Matthew McCleskey on YouTube, by the way.
YouTube and Twitch.
Mm-hmm.
And Peter is here. That is all.
Hello, Peter.
He's coming from Wildland Plains this week.
Yep.
That's what it's called, right? Yeah. Matthew, I have some questions for you. First of all, how was your stream? Because I clicked on your channel a few hours ago and I saw you playing Minecraft. Can you tell me a little bit about your stream?
Yeah, I've been playing modded Minecraft with Therm. We've been playing the Industrial Village mod, which is part industrial factories and building. The other half is trying to get a very broken mod where you city build with villagers, and it is very hard to get them to do what they're supposed to do. I've been handling the easy and predictable machines, and Therm has been handling the chaotic nonsense of getting villagers to build buildings for themselves.
I think both of those sound complicated.
Yeah, a little bit.
The mod you were playing reminded me of back in the day when I used to play Minecraft when I was way younger. Like there was a really popular mod called Tech It.
Yeah.
Are you like a long time Minecraft player? Does that sound familiar?
I don't remember specifically what mod packs I've played in my life, but I've almost certainly played that.
Tech It, yeah. It was just like, I think it was just factory systems. They implemented like some Satisfactory, Factorio factories.
Yeah, most of the mod packs have the same mods in them, just with some different ones here and there. So a lot of the industrial stuff is the same across a lot of the mods.
Yeah. Can I just, you mentioned the Absinthe stuff. I'm like completely new to this. What is like the Absinthe animations? Like, explain it to me like I was an idiot. Like, what does that kind of entail?
Yeah. Okay. So you have to put on costumes or whatever you need, film yourself for real, and then you take that footage, you key out your green screen or roto yourself out, so there's no backgrounds. Then you take that into Photoshop and you just draw a few frames for each shot.
Yeah.
And then Absinthe takes those few frames and interpolates it to match the rest of the shot. So it's like rotoscope animating without having to draw
every single
frame.
Yeah. Well, that's handy. Yeah, I kind of figured it was something like that just based off looking at it. I was like, what's this animation? But I can't quite put my finger on what's going on here. But yeah, that's interesting. It does.
Yeah, we get accused of using filters or AI.
Stuff
like that.
This filter looks weird.
Yeah. What filter do you guys use? This is cool. I want to make these.
Yeah, that's funny. Okay, so Matthew, can you please tell me about your childhood games experiences? Kind of any games that stood out to you as a child, like what were your first games, or maybe the games that had the biggest impact on you or most memorable, anything like that at all? Please tell me.
I my first console was a GameCube, but I'd started playing games way before that, either at a friend's house or my grandmother had an NES at her house. So I think that's where I started. I think
Nice.
Super Mario Bros. On the NES was like my first
Super
game.
Mario Bros.
It's a good start.
And then Legend of Zelda on there as well. Definitely didn't know what I was doing. Then when I got my own GameCube, Wind Waker was my first
Wind
go-to.
Waker. Is Wind Waker
Yeah.
the one in like the boats and shit?
Yeah,
That was
the
probably
very cel-shaded one.
an infuriating question. I apologize. Yeah, just
No,
not.
it's you sail. It's the one with boats.
It is one with the boats, yeah.
And then I think from Wind Waker, I started getting into the rest of the Zelda games, and then into Smash Bros. I was a Nintendo kid.
I can tell.
I did not have a PlayStation 2. Went from GameCube to Wii, then into Xbox 360. Then I got into
That's an interesting
big
path.
boy games.
Oh yeah, the big boy games.
It is, right?
That is interesting. Like to Wii, like that's kind of funny. We were talking about the Wii last episode, and how it's it's a bit of a weird piece of kit looking back. And I also told a story about how when I was like only like a few years ago, a neighbor like asked me to come, and he just saw some like fat autistic kid and me, and he was like, it came over to me and he was like, oh, can you please help me out with this game? And I was like, oh shit, like what's he talking about? And then I went in and he was playing COD 4 on the Wii, like just a few years ago.
That's rough.
Yeah. Weird story.
And the Wii was cool. It was like, oh, everybody in the world likes video games now. Even people who've never touched games. This is cool. This is going to last. And then the Wii wore out, and it was like, oh, you guys don't understand, and now dislike video games again. Cool. Back to just us.
Interesting phase. Even your grandma would be playing like Wii.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Yeah, it was very much like everyone was just buying it as a household console. Like I think just everyone had like a Wii, and I think my parents even got like the Wii Fit pad and shit, like the walking pad and some other miscellaneous pieces of equipment. There was a lot of accessories and shit. It was a strange time.
Accessories.
Yeah. Really a lot of good outreach, marketing. Just had a nice party vibe with a lot of the library, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned you played Smash. What console was that? Sorry, when you played Smash Bros.
GameCube.
Yeah,
started with Melee.
Oh, Melee. I was gonna say, like, what game was that? I'm familiar with Melee. That's interesting. You said you moved on to the big boy games. You said so. Xbox 360 was your first like actual like kind of like full games console.
Right.
That didn't make sense, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
Nintendo's just a lot of Nintendo, and then the worst ports you've ever seen for other stuff. So Xbox is like
true.
Being able to play all the games. Yeah. So I don't even remember what I started with on there. Maybe it was Skyrim. I didn't have Xbox Live or even like an adapter to connect to the internet for a while. But when I did, Halo Reach was my first online game.
Oh shit, nice. Matthew, me and you were gonna get along fucking well, okay? We've been speaking for like 15 fucking minutes, and Matthew's mentioned Kingdom Come and Halo. We're all good to go. So Halo Reach, I remember I played the Halo Reach beta because I got the key for it out of the back of Halo 3 ODST. Because that was the thing that used to happen. They used to put like keys in like for like stuff on some game keys or something like that. Yeah. And that was my first experience with any like beta. Sorry, go ahead.
To be clear, I played Halo 3 and Gears of War at my friend's house across the street. I just didn't have it myself, so it wasn't whenever I wanted things.
That must have been painful. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember
Gears of War was one of my my friends only games too. I was always like, oh man, I want this game. Oh, but I gotta have a console, you know. It's like, let's go to your house. Let's play some games. Like, oh, you don't want to hang with me? No.
They were allowed to play the M-rated games that I wasn't. For a while I still have it behind me. The Grand Theft Auto disc in a Modern Warfare 2 case.
Very nice.
That's play that at my house.
Yeah, I noticed when I was watching your stream, it looks like you got some cool memorabilia in your setup. You even got the CRT TV, just in case you want to break that out.
That's recent.
Yeah. Nice. Very good. So so Halo Reach. Did you play Halo Reach a lot?
So much.
Oh yeah,
So much.
I was crazy
It
into
was
it.
actually like I think it was one of my earlier attempts at content creation. Because I got a capture card and then I tried to make like a machinima in it because those were big at the time.
Yeah.
Except it never worked out only because the software it came with was buggy. It was probably my computer, for being honest. So it wouldn't make
I don't know.
cuts
Capture
where I
cards back
thought
then
it
were
was.
pretty sketch.
Well, yes, but still, like it would be like, okay, you recorded this clip. Now trim the clip down. It's like, okay, it's just one shot. So I just need to trim it to the start and end of the shot. And it just wouldn't ever accurately trim. So when you put it all together, it was just badly cut garbage. And I didn't know how to like edit yet.
Yeah.
So I abandoned it. Never saw the light of day.
Nah, you'll upload those videos one day, surely. Did you
I'm certain they're 100% gone.
Yeah. What do you remember what capture card it was? Because I remember there was two really popular ones, and I can literally remember the names.
I still have it too. It's the Hauppauge HD PVR
Yeah,
2.
Oh, Hauppauge.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, I remember so much difficulties with those. Like
They
just
were
getting them to
complicated.
work, and their stability. It's very
I
popular, but
think the hardware worked fine for me. It was all of the software you had to use to interface with it that was
yeah,
complete garbage.
yeah, that's pretty terrible.
I
I
remember
remember just trying to get that to work with live TV, and it's just like,
Yeah, anything like that is like too much for me. I mean, aren't what are they called again? What I just forgot the name. These recording cards. What are they called?
capture cards.
Sorry, aren't capture cards kind of the same setup nowadays though, or are they better?
Yeah, like the one I have now, I have Elgato's, but it's just
Mm.
goes into the motherboard and just has ports in the back, which is way easier to just worry about an HDMI in and out instead of this box that you have to power and then connect inputs into, and it has a record button on it, and
Oh
it
yeah.
has different modes that it's in, and you have to figure all this out. Way too complicated for what it's supposed to do. It could be way easier.
Yeah.
Right.
Because I always wanted one because I was the same kid like watching like Halo Reach montages on YouTube and shit, and I wanted to like make my own. So and then I asked for one for Christmas, and my parents got me this. It was called a Roxio. It was called a Roxio,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it was kind of like the cheaper alternative to a HD PVR2. But then like once I plugged it in and started using it, I realized I think the quality on it was capped at 480p.
Oh,
Oh,
ouch.
Which back then was like that's quite bad, but now it's like that's not acceptable at all. Like that's never going to
Yeah.
be acceptable. But back then it was like
Right.
someone might watch it, but yeah, I remember realizing that and just being like, shit.
Most people's TVs weren't even 1080 then.
I think
Most of it
720 was
still
standard.
480 or 720, yeah.
Was 720 was standard when I was growing up. Yeah, we actually only recently threw out the TV, and my dad was like almost in fucking tears about getting rid of it because he was like, it cost £3,000 when I bought it, and I was like, but it's a piece of shit. Like, come on, it weighed like a fucking car as well.
Oh yeah, those old things.
Yeah.
Yeah, 720p.
I remember when I used to take my PC to my friend's house and we'd LAN together and stuff. And I had a 21-inch monitor, CRT, and let me tell you, dude, that thing was a beast. I had to like put it in my car seat and like buckle it up like a passenger. and when you moved it around, you had to be careful when you set it down because you could crush your fingers with that kind of weight. That was that was insane. The massive. Oh man, but yeah, to go to panels, that was easy on. It was much easier for travel.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Did you play Halo 3? Oh, so you said you did it at a friend's house. Are you like a Halo fan, or was that just a game that you were just kind of playing?
I played Halo a lot. Most of my friends were playing Call of Duty. I think it stemmed from I'm not allowed to play the really violent gun games. Eventually I just kind of started ignoring that, and like nothing came from it. But I played Halo, and then Battlefield 3 was another big one. I
Nice.
didn't grow up on COD. And I feel like I'm a better person for it.
Stand on business. Yeah, I definitely played. I definitely played quite a lot of both. I played at COD 4 and then World at War, which is COD 5, and then kind of like going into like Black Ops and stuff. I definitely played them all. But I had a friend group at the boys from school, and we were just constantly playing like FPS. Like we would just be like, one day we'd be on like Halo Reach, and they'd be like, "All right, boys, let's go on COD 4." And we go on, and then even though COD 4 would be like old, it was like at the time we still had like a ton of players. Like these games always had like loads of players on Xbox
absolutely.
Live. You could go back to any of them and just play them, and obviously there was no like mods or anything really at the time, at least not like significant cheats. So you could really easily do that.
I'm more of an old school COD player. My main ones were like 1 and 2. Back in the age where like half of the FPSs were World War II games, and like 1942, Medal of Honor, Return to Castle Wolfenstein. A lot of good ones though. Like it's kind of like, the zombie craze that they had going later, the zombie survival.
Yes, absolutely. Still ongoing, honestly.
Yeah,
it's kind of a good. It was kind of a good phase. I don't mind that one. If you get, I mean, in terms of phases, it doesn't rank that badly.
Yeah, it's certainly a rank above the survival crafting. Sorry, the early access survival crafting.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's just reminding me. You were talking about Xbox and shit. Like, Minecraft wasn't on Xbox for a long time,
right?
And like, so what ended up happening was, I guess, I don't know if I'm remembering it wrong, and it was out, and people weren't playing it, or it wasn't out. So these indie devs kind of jumped on that opportunity, and there was like 3 or 4 really big Minecraft knockoffs on Xbox.
Castle Miners Z.
That's I knew you said it. Yeah, we talked about it a few episodes ago because it's one of them things where you remember it and it feels like a fever dream. Because I was telling Peter last time, like, you would fucking just walk around in Minecraft world, but then you just find like an AK-47 with 7.62 and you go and shoot some fucking spiders.
Blatant copyright violations too. Like, you would just be walking around like, is that a xenomorph? What is that doing in here? Surely they can't do that, right?
They were doing cameos before it was cool, or cross. You mentioned Battlefield 3, and first of all, it's kind of interesting because Battlefield 3 and 4 look a lot like the new one that's coming out. Have you watched any videos of the new Battlefield game, Matthew?
I have seen it, and I'm cautiously optimistic.
I'm cautiously optimistic as well. It's definitely going for those.
Great, but the people in charge of DICE are not. So unfortunately, a lot of their work is not super great recently.
No. Is it still like a big is it still entirely EA?
Yeah, I think so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think so.
Well, there you go then. It's kind of funny though, because since this Battlefield 6 news is coming out, I keep seeing like Twitter accounts, and they're like, "Oh, us Battlefield 3 and 4 vets, we're fucking breaking out the big guns for this one." And like, first of all, if you played Battlefield 3 and 4, can you call yourself a vet? Because isn't Battlefield 4 only like 10 years old?
It's older than that, I think.
Is it? Maybe it is. But anyway, it's funny because they say like, oh, like these COD kids, these Fortnite kids, they don't fucking stand a chance. Me and the Mill Sim, fucking retired fucking veteran who was deployed for 6 weeks and came home, fucking boys. We're all getting out on Battlefield 6 and we're gonna fucking shit on these little kids. And this is like a lot of Twitter accounts, and I guess you know how you kind of click on one and you see them all, and I keep seeing them, and they're all just like starting this war between like veterans who played a game like probably like that's probably like 10 years old at least. And then I find it funny because I don't think anyone who hasn't played like an FPS or like a Twitch shooter in the last like 3 to 5 years has no idea what they're in for. Like, literal children will destroy these people.
Oh, absolutely.
Who haven't played an FPS in 10 years. Like, it's not
you
even a
competition. Bad Company 2 for 80 hours a week when you were a kid. Now you have a job. Okay, while you're at a job, these kids are at home getting better than you. Good
literally luck. Like, you stop playing the game for like 2 weeks and everyone's better than you. Like,
while you're at your 9 to 5, I was mastering the blade. Those kind of vibes.
That's not even the Battlefield attitude. I feel like if you're playing a good game of Battlefield, you get to the end and you're like sweating. I don't think I've ever played a Battlefield round where I'm like, dominated, we did it. That's the COD attitude
No, I
leaking into
completely agree.
Battlefield. Like when
Also-
I played Battlefield, it's like a team game. Okay, if we are not doing our roles, we're losing. Okay,
Yeah.
get your heals, get your reses, get ammo down, and then you go to COD, and it's just like, yeah, we're on a team, but really, it's about me.
COD is
Yeah.
entirely
KD.
about like individual progression. That's the whole point of Call of Duty. It's always been about individual progression.
And
That's why I
speaking of
like-
individual,
I like
yeah,
Battlefield better.
yeah, COD, you can carry a lot more in COD because you can just absolutely destroy. But Battlefield, like, you can only do so much as a team before you come up across, the vehicles or
Oh
you
shit,
know
the fucking
needing
vehicles.
to work together on a objective or something. So yeah, much more team oriented. And man, the team spawn, being able to spawn with your team,
Huge,
that was so
huge.
huge. I think
Yeah.
that kind of forced team play to a degree. Like, okay, now get together, you two get together. No, play nice. Like it put them together. It's like, okay, I'll play with my teammates.
Yes.
Just because I'm here.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. That's not the Battlefield attitude at all. I feel like that's actually like counterintuitive because first of all, is coming top of the leaderboard in like a Battlefield lobby even that much of a flex? Because listen, I don't know. Listen, I don't know if I'm just really good, but like it would happen somewhat frequently, and I'm not even like a big Battlefield player, but I just feel like one, if you're getting loads of kills, you're probably not playing the objective, like you said, and
Right.
two, it's just isn't that kind of a game where you go in like the server browser and pick your own lobbies anyway?
Yeah.
So it feels like
Yeah,
it's
you can.
kind of different. So it feels like it's kind of different to like COD because you're always getting like skill-based match made and the lobbies are all like really hard and really sweaty. Battlefield is definitely
That's
way
true.
more casual.
Mm.
Like it's always
Yeah.
been way more casual. So I think it's a weird flex to like claim that you're like good at Battlefield because it's never been a particularly skill-based game. It's always just been like fuck around.
Yeah.
It's also
And
like
usually you're on the top for
sometimes you're just at the top because you are at a choke point with your defibrillators out, and you're just like
oh yeah.
doing your job, not necessarily skilled. You were just
Yeah.
and doing
You can
what
get
you're supposed to
top
do.
score without firing a shot. Just go around with the paddles, just hit all your teammates constantly.
Yeah, it's a weird flex.
But
It's
yeah.
a weird flex.
Killing sprees in that aren't usually like you're just going around, you're headshotting everyone. It's usually like you got a really good run in a tank or something like that.
In a tank, you held a choke point while had someone supplying ammo and health to you the whole time.
I
Yeah.
have
And they do the point system too. So
yeah.
Yeah,
I've probably played thousands of hours like in total across all Battlefield games, and I don't think I've ever like had a kill in a plane or a tank once. I always hated using them. I feel like I feel like it's boring and like you're just being annoying. And if you're not like great at it, you just die anyway. Like there's lots of like despite how annoying it is, there's a lot of counters to vehicles, and it gets frustrating sometimes.
yeah, I think Bad Company 2 was my all-time favorite Battlefield. Like just flawless execution, great class balance, good balance between vehicles and on the ground units. Because like if you're in a vehicle, yeah, you can go on a killing spree, but if you're smart enough with the countermeasures, you can kind of kill it off early. Whereas I feel like in the later games, they really overpowered the vehicles, and they even made it to some maps were actually vehicle centric, which kind of felt like it killed the vibe of Battlefield.
yeah, the big open areas where you like have to get in a vehicle in order to drive,
or you're just
back to where
running
the
for like
actual
5
battles are
minutes to the
happening.
objective.
Battlefield 2042 was really bad for that. They got a lot of lashback when Battlefield 2042 came out because some of the maps were like they were boasting about somehow some of the maps were fucking massive, but it would just be like 14 acres of fields with like a farm in the middle and then some buildings. That's what it was like.
There are games for this if you want to do it, but like the kind of mill sim where you have to like half of it is like logistics, like okay, we need 3 vehicles lined up here for when people respawn at this point, so we can go ahead and carry them over to the objective over here,
like Arma
boring.
and stuff.
Boring.
Yeah,
Boring.
yeah.
I mean, I do like a good armor game every now and then, but yeah. I think
when you're in Battlefield, expecting
Battlefield,
and you're doing logistics instead, then it's boring. If you want it, you can get it. Then it's fun.
My favorite maps were the infantry only maps anyway. Like this is probably blasphemous, but I love Operation Locker. Operation Locker was like the most toxic map, and I feel like everyone like avoided it like the plague. But then the people who were playing it were like they were playing it. Like there was like a cult following of Operation Locker. Like you go on it and everyone just knows what to do.
I feel like the most toxic one was Metro because that was just a shitstorm.
Yeah.
Just
Love
absolute
Metro.
Love Metro.
grenade
Love
spam.
Metro.
Just gun. I loved it too, though. My favorite thing in Metro was getting a flank, like
Yeah.
actually getting behind him. You get like 20 kills in a row before they actually
sometimes
notice you're
more.
there.
Because they
had
they just wouldn't notice. Like
They just
literally,
be
people
a
would just
huge
stand
line
there.
of them. You just knock them all down like
had a-
pins in a bowling alley.
I have a core gaming memory of an Operation Metro game. I was a kid, so I wasn't super great. Some of the kill counts were never that high, but I got like a 40 kill streak sitting in the top floor of a building with some guy there just supplying ammo to my LMG while there's just smoke and explosions and smoke grenades, RPGs. You can't see out of the window. So I'm just sitting there just spraying, not aiming down sight, just hip fire spraying LMG, just picking up kill after kill.
Yeah.
RPGs are
Nice.
flying into our building and missing.
Yeah.
It was just
great.
pure intense.
Good times.
Yeah.
I remember when me and my friends, this was because like me and my friends go through we go through cycles of like being really into like different games, or something we do like every year or so is we'll go back to Battlefield games and just get really sweaty. And we did it for Battlefield 4, and me and my friend went on Metro and we realized that this one shotgun, it might be like, is it like the M1014? I forget the name of the actual like military weapon, but it was just like a semi-auto, like not pump action shotgun, and we realized how broken it was. And we both run it, and we'd go and we'd just wait and pray that we'd get a flank, like you described, Peter, and we'd just get like 15 kills each every time because it was like as long as you were in like a nice range, it was a one-shot weapon, and it was just an absolute slaughter. Operation Metro was kind of like a precursor to Operation Locker as well. Like they're very similar maps, obviously.
Yeah, I remember. I'd often go with my buddy, and we'd have the shotties.
Yeah.
He'd have the one with shot. I'd have the one with the slugs for kind of medium range, and we just go through the building, just clear out the buildings. Any buildings that gave us resistance, we'd take it down. The destruction physics were so great in that game, you know.
Yeah.
There was just sniper in there. It's like not anymore.
Battlefield 1 was really good for that. Battlefield 1 might honestly be my favorite, which is probably a hot take. But Battlefield 1 was a fucking good time. Do you remember? I don't know if we spoke about it on Content Farm already, but do you remember the Model 10 Hunter or whatever it was called? Anyone who played Battlefield 1, there was this weapon called the Model 10 Hunter, and it was a shotgun, but not really, because you could shoot people from like 70 feet away and get a one shot. It was probably the most broken weapon they've ever had in Battlefield.
And that's saying something for Battlefield.
Yeah. Okay, Matthew. I feel like we've gone, unless you had any more childhood games you wanted to mention. Can I ask you another question?
Go for it.
So, last week? I lose fucking track of time. Doesn't matter. At some point, we discussed or in general, the most disappointing games of all time. Like, what game has, like, either whether you've been excited for it personally, or whether it was just like a phenomenon, like just a thing that was going on, and it was just like a really fucking disappointing, like it was a letdown. Anything that stands out in your brain?
Okay, so when I got my Switch, I was just trying to get anything for it, just because the Switch was cool and new, and there was like Breath of the Wild, and that was it. So I got a game on there called Snake Pass.
I thought you were about to shit on Breath of the Wild. I got scared.
No.
Yeah, Snake Pass.
Careful where you tread.
It's like a Banjo-Kazooie type collecting platformer game, except you were a snake, so you had to like slither to move, and then like had a bird that could like hold parts of you to help you climb stuff. Trash. Barely worked. Physics were bad. All you would do is like loop around something and then get stuck, and the bird couldn't lift you for anything. So
yeah, that was a very wonky game. Yeah,
you played it too.
That's one of those things where like oh yeah, that's one of the games where like you see the demo, you're like, this is so cool, this is so innovative.
Great
Look
idea.
at this control, this is awesome. I bet this is fun. And then you play it, and then you're just struggling with the physics. Like, no, this isn't how snakes work.
This doesn't work.
Has this guy ever seen a snake before?
Are you talking about like
so
a
that was
2D
fun.
game or like a
No,
it's
it's 3D.
It's like
it's 3D.
3D.
Like a legit
It's
game?
just,
Okay.
It was just one of the earliest Switch eShop releases, so I think because it timed itself well, it got a lot of purchases. I have never heard anybody talk about it
No, that this is
except
new.
for like
This is new to me.
the day it came out.
Yeah, you should have brought Breath of the Wild instead. Oh, I assume you did, but
Oh yeah.
but yeah.
Hmm.
Oh yeah.
Anymore?
I think most recently, Monster Hunter Wilds.
Shit.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay, you get
At a
what's
score?
up with that? Yeah.
Fun. It's fun. It's fine. The multiplayer implementation is
Terrible.
horrendous.
Awful.
Horrendous. First of all,
they made it worse somehow.
they've
They
got
make it
like
worse?
they've got the same things that other games have. Like they've got your guilds and your party and your lobby and stuff. Except they don't call it any of that.
No.
New words.
No.
We're making stuff up. Your party is now your squad, or your squad is now your guild. Your party is your link team.
Your link team. That was the thing that threw me off so hard when I was first trying to figure out multiplayer. I was like, what the fuck is a link? Like, what is a link?
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it just parades you through the campaign seamlessly, which is cool if you're playing by yourself. You don't have to like go accept missions for everything. But then it like you've talked to the person. Now you're just walking out to do this thing. You can't bring a friend with you because
No.
you're in a little dialogue walk and talk section.
Yeah.
So you have to like get there, start the monster fight, quit, go back.
Oh, it's so
Your
bad.
friend has to do the thing too. Then you can join together. Then you can both go fight them. Just bad.
Well, so
Yeah.
because
then
of the way that works. Sorry, can I just interrupt 1 second? Because of the
Yeah,
way
go ahead,
because of the way that works, they basically made it so that you can't do the story at the same time with a friend. It's physically impossible, right? Am I wrong in saying that?
It's terrible. It's so
physically
bad. 'cause
impossible.
It's possible, but
yeah.
very, very difficult.
Because
and
someone
you'd
would
be
have to
better
do
off
the
just
mission
not.
first. Yeah.
Mhm.
Sorry,
I
what were you
feel like
saying?
they fixed it because in World they had the issue where I think like 90% of the quests you just throw it up, you join your buddy, you're in, and then like there's 10% where like you gotta like get to a point before you can call your friend in, and which
Yeah.
is kind of inconvenient, but it's the minority of quests. And then in
So it's like
Rise, it's like
I
every
didn't play
quest.
Rise.
Oh, you didn't? Oh, in Rise they improved it. Every quest you can play with your friend. It's pretty seamless. I feel like they fixed it at that point. So they took a giant step backward with
Even from
Wilds.
World, which wasn't perfect, they just took there was a giant leap backwards. Because in World, it's like, which I've been replaying instead because it's the more fun Monster Hunter. You would just at the very worst, they'd have to start a mission, watch a cutscene, and then you could join them after, which is great. That's way easier.
Mhm.
But then at least on my computer, which isn't even that outdated, it is, but it's not that bad. When I built it, it was like top of the line for the time. It just looks and runs horribly. It's one of those games that they built out with no optimization because they were hoping that upscaling could save it. Upscaling in like frame gen, and it can't. It just looks. All the textures look like N64 textures that they sprinkled some blurry dirt on.
Yeah, I can see that.
They put grunge on everything. I don't know why they did that. It looks awful.
Yeah, yeah. My friends my friend that I normally play all through Monster Hunter Worlds and Rides with, he didn't get into it because he couldn't get past the performance issues. And
Yeah, I had a
they'll send me
friend have to
screenshots
refund it
of what
too.
you said, like the N64 style like what the hell? Like I'm blessed enough that I got a pretty good system that
And it's
I
like
can
I'm
run it, but
gigabytes under my VRAM. It's like I
yeah,
don't know what the problem is.
it just takes so much out of a
And then
system.
World settings as high as you can set them on a Steam Deck. You can't. There's no point doing the resolution higher or anything. But like textures are maxed. All the lighting is maxed on World, and then like still 100 FPS. Like it's just beautiful. Game looks great, runs great. I don't know why they didn't just do that again.
Yeah.
It's kind of strange because it does. Like I played it on PS5, so I imagine the scaling is probably worse. I don't know if that's like factually correct or not.
I feel like it'd look and run better on a PS5, which I probably should have gotten it on. But
Really? Well,
it's for consoles. It's you build it and optimize it for that hardware. Everybody has that. For PC, it's so different that it's usually worse.
The old console port, and especially Capcom console port.
Yeah.
So, but this is definitely the worst. Like, there have been some bad ones, like some Resident Evil ones that have been terrible, but by far, out of performance, it's inexcusable, honestly. And you'd think they'd address it, you know? The old day one patch, that they usually do. But no, didn't fix it day one, didn't fix it the first patch, not even the second patch, didn't even address it in the patch. Like, hello guys, this is a huge issue. How are you just not even gonna acknowledge it,
I got some things to say about that in KCD2 as well. But yeah.
Well, and it still sold record numbers, so it's not exactly they don't actually need to care, apparently.
I think like on PS5 the game definitely has its moment. Like for the first like 10 hours of playing, I was like, wait, are the graphics actually this bad, or is something cool gonna happen? But it's a bit like at the end of like when you finish areas, there's always kind of a moment where like the sun comes out and it looks like okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know why they're like, the game doesn't get to look good until you progress a little bit. And then after a while, it's just going to go back.
Yeah, it reverts back. It literally does revert back. I can't believe that.
What a terrible start.
It's hilarious. But even in those moments, I was getting like, for example, when you finish like the forest area for the first time, when you walk out into the forest, it's beautiful. I think the lighting is probably carrying it. I don't know exactly what's going on there. But then on the PS5, like the scaling went so bad. They've obviously got I think all games do on console now have like adaptive scaling. And it just tanked. Like it tanked really bad. It was like visibly blurry on my TV. But
the forest was rough on my system, man. I don't get it either. There was some great looking scenery though in the game. Definitely some really creative, but
art design is art design's fantastic. No question about that. In terms of like just pure artistic like inspiration, it looks great. Just graphics aren't really helping.
But man, they just couldn't fix it. It's
I'll revisit it in like a year when maybe it looks and runs how it's supposed to. But they need to throw that one back in the oven for a bit.
It's something we're going to talk about later. I'm going to talk about trends later, and one of those trends is just like ship it now, fix it later. That's one of the worst fucking trends that's happened as of recently.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I like the game on PS5. I'm like, when I play games on console, I'm way less like harsh about performance and stuff because I'm like, it's a console, so I don't really care. As long as it's not like below 40 FPS, I don't really care how a game is like running.
Yeah.
And how it looks to a degree, like on console. But it seems fine. But I also just have there's some weird things about the game as well. Did you like finish the story and stuff, Matthew?
Yeah, I finished the story and then dropped it.
Yeah, did you get to the point where you start like making your own weapons? Like, sorry, I mean, like, instead of using monster parts, you can completely build your own weapons. It's like a new thing in Wilds, But it's kind of,
I didn't know that.
It's kind of weird though, because this start basically, like, if you've ever played like Destiny or any kind of like serious MMO like that, it starts that kind of like really tedious RNG grind to the point where these blades that you make are made up of like 4 or 5 different parts, and they're really random drops. And even after they're a really random drop, when you go to the crafting process, there's a chance that you'll just get something like really shit. And I was in Discord with my friend once, and he was sat there for like 30 minutes reloading a save and like remaking the weapon over and over again to try and get one that was marginally better. And also they're ugly, and you can't change the way they look. They just look like metal weapons, like all of them. They have like imagine like the default starting weapon. They kind of look a bit like a slightly like more ornate starting weapon, and you can't change the way they look. They might add that, but you can't change the way they look. And those are
really,
even the shit one that I made is like significantly better than any other like monster weapon that I have so far. Although I'm sure you do get like better monster weapons, but yeah, and that was the really weird thing for me because I was like,
doesn't that? Oh, you build them with monster parts, yeah?
No, it's like
in crafting. No, it's all the other.
It's not monster parts. It's like you have to fight these certain like very high like tempered monsters or whatever they're called. I'm sure there's like I'm sure there's multiple. I haven't got into the end game that much. I'm sure there's multiple ways to find those parts, but they're not monster parts. They're like you find like broken blades or like a blade that's in like better condition, and then there's like gems and stuff, and they all do different things. And you go to the blacksmith and you combine them, and you get like a result.
So once you beat Monster Hunter, you stop with the gameplay loop of Monster Hunter.
I guess you still have to kill the monsters, but yeah, that for me, I think I really one of the biggest pulls to me for Monster Hunter obviously was that like you'd kill a monster, and that monster would drop its things, and then you make armors and weapons out of these things. You know, I feel like maybe I'm stupid. I feel like this is really obvious stuff, but like that was what I really liked, and I kind of the crafting weapons thing is kind of was a little bit of a disappointment to me because I was like, oh, what that's kind of made me not want to get into the end game that much because I don't want to randomly roll swords. Really?
Yeah, weird. I didn't even know about that. Now my opinion's worse. Sucks more now.
Yeah, they have a name. Like they're called like something weapons. I forget, but yeah, it's like a you. I think you unlock it like a certain point. Yeah, you unlock it at a certain point after you start doing the high rank levels.
It must be just before that then, because I just did the story as well.
Artisan weapons or like artisan weapons, I think is what they're called.
Oh, that makes sense.
Any more disappointing games, Matthew?
I'm trying to think. I'm really of the opinion that like not the opinion. I
feel a hot take
tend to look past some shortcomings because like I'm enjoying some aspect of the game. So like with Cyberpunk, like people are having problems with that. I wasn't personally having like performance or like game breaking bugs happening like a lot of people were, so that was nice. But then just like some systems weren't there working like they said, blah blah blah. But I was still like, I don't know, the game and story's kind of fun. I
like the story in Cyberpunk a lot.
It's not, I'm not super disappointed at the moment. Obviously it's way better now, but
that is a hot take. I feel like that's one of the
that happens to me all the time.
Yeah.
People are like, this game's bad. I'm like, I don't know, but you get to do this thing in it. That's pretty cool.
I like Cyberpunk a lot, like in its fully functioning state. I was definitely one of those in the beginning who practically couldn't play the game, though. I was constantly finding like either game breaking glitches or like glitches that were so annoying that it may as well have been game breaking because I didn't want to fucking play anymore. Just like graphical glitches and like teleporting glitches and NPCs not working, stuff like that. On like day one, this was like, Jesus Christ, I can't deal.
Yeah. I had the performance issues. I had the buggy quest issues. The cars going flying every now and then, which is sometimes funny, sometimes frustrating.
I didn't have any of that. I don't know how.
That's so interesting. Maybe it's like hardware specific. Some of it.
I think it depends when you played it. If you played it near launch, it was quite terrible. They patched out a lot of big ones.
The hour it releases when I started.
Oh, really? Okay.
I was right.
May have just been your system, or who knows, RNG.
Who knows?
I just got lucky. That's all it was.
Yeah,
or I ignored some of the stuff and don't remember now.
Or you're a CD Projekt Red shill.
What?
Okay.
Kind of looks like the guy from The Witcher. What's his name?
What? You mean Geralt?
Geralt. Yeah, I know.
Yeah. So no, like, no Starfield or anything like that, or I don't even know what were the big disappointing games that we mentioned.
No, see, Starfield was another one that was like people were disappointed with it. I was like, it's just Bethesda again.
It is very Bethesda.
Like it's exactly what I expected it to be.
Yeah,
I think it's also another part of it. My expectations for stuff aren't super high anymore.
Yeah,
unless it's Nintendo. Usually I hold them to a standard, but everything else I'm like especially Bethesda. Come on, guys. How many times do you have to learn the lesson?
This is low hanging.
It's Bethesda's game again, just in a different spot. That's all it is.
I feel like if you're a fan of Bethesda, you kind of have a tolerance for those kind of shortcomings at this point.
It's like eating pizza rolls. Like it's not the best thing you've ever had, but it's like I think I want a pizza roll right now. I think I could have a plate, and that's all it is. It's like the comfort food of gaming.
I know I'm going to sear my tongue on one of them, but
yes, except Starfield also surprised me with the shipbuilding, which
the shipbuilding
really
is
good.
Fantastic. I didn't even mention that last week, probably because I didn't want to give the game any fucking credit. But yeah,
so it was baseline Bethesda fine. Shipbuilding going up a little bit.
It did have some really cool shipbuilding. That's the one thing I can give it. It was very very in depth, surprisingly so. Actually, I don't think Bethesda have really done anything that in depth ever. So
Also, coolest way to introduce a new game plus, just ever.
What was it? I never finished that game.
So you get to spoiler warning.
Spoiler warning.
You get through the story. There's the Starborn that keep appearing, and they're weird ships, super alien-looking people, and you're trying to figure out who they are. That's like the main part of the story.
Yeah.
You get to the end, and oh, it's two people who have been a part of my team and with the story the whole time. Oh, they're from like an alternate timeline, and now I can become Starborn, and it like resets your game, but you're Starborn now, so you have the weird looking ship, the weird spacesuit and armor, and now the
Oh.
game's reset, but it's a different timeline now. So there's now new ways that the main story can go. Like you can run up to them and be like, there's no need to do this mystery. I know exactly what the deal is. This is it, and this is what we can do. Story ends.
Okay.
Sometimes they're
That's
just
quite cool.
not even there.
Mhm.
Story is just like over before it starts because this timeline doesn't have them, or they died or something. And then you can do all the side quests and stuff again. You can make different choices this time. New timeline. Who cares? But that's
Okay.
just like a cool way to.
That's really
That's
innovative.
cool.
I
Yeah,
gotta say.
that's
Yeah,
quite cool.
that's pretty sweet. Yeah, that's how you get replay out of it.
Yeah.
Don't
Yeah.
just do new game plus. It's a little harder. Go again. You know, like actually giving them something to look forward to. And speaking of games that were disappointing but had really great character creation, I don't know if you're familiar with Spore, Matthew. I
Played
mentioned
a
it to
little bit at a friend's house a
Sean.
long time ago. Yeah.
I remember seeing this video of the presentation where you were on a planet, you you start as a microbe and then you're on the land, and then they zoomed out and you can see the planet. You zoomed out and you could see the solar system, and then you zoomed out and then you could see the galaxy, and then he zoomed out and then you can see all these galaxies, and then he just kept zooming out and everyone just lost their minds like, oh my god, the scale is incredible. But you play the game and it's just completely flat.
Yeah.
No replayability to it. But
Yeah.
but the creature creator, man, that was
Great.
pretty fun. That there
Great. Yeah.
was a good deal of memes to come from that, and that was the kind of the thing at the time to remake it in Creature Maker, see what it looks like.
Mhm. Oh, I just thought of another disappointing
Fantastic.
game. I know a lot of people liked it, but for me, Dragon's Dogma 2 was just a little too quirky in how they designed it. That I ran into too many points where I'm just like, what are they asking from me? Like, what am I supposed to be doing here? And then finally figuring out the solution, it's like, oh, it's because I didn't enter from this side, that I didn't encounter this thing that was supposed to happen. Or, oh, they wanted me to think of this really specific answer to this clue. Like,
I
there's
completely agree. Like I put like 10 hours into it and then I dropped it because I was like, I can't physically walk anywhere or do anything without dying right now. Like I feel like my playthrough is
and
destroyed. Like it's over. Like everything is going badly. There's nothing fun happening. I'm
there's
just
also
dying.
like these stealth sections, so you have to like sneak into the palace. But then like, I don't even remember the specifics of this. I just remember it being weird. Like sometimes they didn't care if you were there. Sometimes they would immediately attack you. And I could never figure out when it was acceptable for me to be in any area. And then the no fast travel mechanic, it's cool. It like forces you to go out, but then like it gets to a point where it's like, I have to walk across the map to get back to the city, and you put enemies in front of me every 10 feet. I don't want to fight for 2 hours of gameplay to get to this city, please. It's like, okay, take a cart. Sure. Okay, we got a mile out of the city, and the cart got attacked by an ogre, and that broke the cart.
Yeah,
I gotta walk again.
We're gonna
That
talk
kept
about
happening over and over.
we're gonna talk about difficulty later, and that's definitely the kind of stuff that is questionable at times if it's not handled correctly. Like I think games like KCD Kingdom Come 2 do a way better job. But it's just
Yeah.
like, oh my god, Dragon's Dogma 2 is like, I didn't play the first one or anything. I went into it just because it was kind of like, oh, like, this big game's come out, let's try it. And I was like, holy shit, this is fucking hard. Like I remember everything I was doing, I was like, I was just so angry all the time, and every single thing that you had to do in the game was so frustrating. I just didn't know what to do, and a lot of stuff would depend on like your character choices and stuff, and like things that there's no way you could have possibly known about in the future. and then something just terrible would happen, and you'd be like, okay, well now what? Like just every 5 minutes, there was just some devastation. Really hard.
Yeah, it had some puzzle. They're like, you have to find a guy that looks like this, and it's like, okay, so you find one that's like 90% of the way there. There's two of them. One's on one side of a gate, one's on the other. One's a decoy, not the right guy.
Oh boy.
So the difference was like, the hair that's inside of his hood is the wrong color, idiot, or something stupid. It's like, okay,
Definitely
why
trippy.
why'd you make it that difficult? Like, this isn't an I Spy book. Just it's already hard enough to go find an NPC that you gave me no direction for. Just walk around and look at every person to exist, and then you put a decoy.
Yeah.
I'm losing my mind.
It's also one of those games where, because it is kind of clunky and a little bit buggy, it's really hard to tell what's a bug and what isn't, which is a really frustrating
Yes.
thing in games.
Yeah.
Like, if something's not happening, you'd be like, did I not prepare properly, or is the game glitched? But I'd do that like every 5 minutes. That would be my thought process, like every 5 minutes.
Yeah,
sounds like terrible
that
design.
was my biggest problem, is asking, like, is it me or is it the game? I don't know what's wrong.
That would happen very frequently in that game. I'm going to move on to the next question because I'm cautious of time. Matthew,
Absolutely.
what are your current favorite games?
Oh, current favorites. Anything that Remedy has made are just far and above my tops.
That's interesting. I wasn't expecting you to say that. That's interesting.
So I played Control when it came out, just because I just got the 2080,
Yeah.
and it was like one of the first ray tracing games. Was like, cool.
Oh yeah.
And it's got like superhero abilities. This looks fun. Played through that, really enjoyed it. Didn't know anything about the company. Didn't know it was like the Max Payne creators or anything. Hadn't even played those at that point. And then Alan Wake 2 came out. My friend was like, "Hey, you playing that?" I was like, "No, I don't know what it is. People keep talking about it. I don't know what this is. I don't know why it's like as big as it is." He's like, "It's made by the same people as Control." I was like, "Oh, is it?"
Isn't Alan Wake
like,
in
okay, well,
Control? Did you not catch that part?
yeah, he's I played it when it came out, so I didn't
Oh, sorry.
even know they released DLCs, because they added a DLC for it.
Right.
Later down the line. I didn't even know about that.
Yeah.
So then I looked into it. I was like, oh goodness, there's a whole string of games in this. So I was like, okay, go back and play Alan Wake 1. It's old. It's not really varied in its gameplay. Story's great though. Got through that. Then I got to replay Control with the new mindset and the new perspective of having played Alan Wake. Made Control way better. And
Really?
then the DLCs, which are great.
How to make it better?
Because, okay, so you're like reading about things that are like, oh, there's like altered items and they cause these weird events, and this this bureau set up to look at weird altered world events that happen, and there's like objects of power and para-utilitarians who know how to use this stuff, and then you're like, oh, like okay, about Remedy games, every game you play, it makes it feel like it's the central game to their little universe they're building. So Alan Wake's like, oh, this is huge. Like, if you don't know what Alan Wake's about, it's a writer, Alan Wake, who goes, he has some writer's block. So his wife takes him on a trip to Bright Falls, just like a small mountain town. Very, very Twin Peaks-esque. It's very inspired if you've seen that. But his wife secretly brought him there to see a doctor who's helps creatives, and then they go to a cabin on Cauldron Lake, and it's all like a trap by some dark evil witch who's there. She falls into the lake, which is actually this is a lot. It's actually like a portal to the dark place, bad place, alternate world. Very bad things
Very bad
happening in
place.
there. And then Alan Wake wakes up like a week later, has no clue what has happened in this week, but he finds manuscript pages of something he's written, which is kind of spelling out events that are unfolding as his writing comes true, which is what the dark place does. Takes works of like creative works and turns them into reality. So you see, it feels like, oh, that's like the whole world, and you get to control, and it's like, No, this is a little point on a map of
Yeah.
one of these examples of this type of thing happening all over.
Yeah, because Control is
And you're like,
inside the
oh.
bureau, right? Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
Mhm.
So it's like, oh, Alan Wake's just like a tiny part of this.
As you're
Then-
talking, I see that Alan Wake box behind you, the big green one.
Oh yeah, I just saw
Collector
that.
edition.
Yeah, I see it.
Ah. And then the coffee thermos, which is very, very, very
Oh,
hard
shit.
to get.
Yeah. Jesus.
Anyway, and then Alan Wake 2 follows off of Control, and then again makes it feel like, oh, this is now the most important thing that's happening. And that's super good. But it like kind of ties all of the other games they've done, even Quantum Break, Microsoft's
Right,
very heavily
yeah.
branded
Mhm.
game that they made, ties that in, brings in all of the alternate universe stuff in. And it's like it all ties together so beautifully, and it's
And
just a
Max
really,
Payne, right?
really
Is it Max
fun
Payne?
game.
Yeah.
And Max Payne,
And
yeah,
Max Payne.
those are brought in too. They just give them different names.
Yeah, he has a different name.
Max Payne is just Alex Casey now.
That's it. That's Casey, yeah.
And it's their way of skirting copyright law, which is
Which is
funny.
fine.
It's
I
just
mean,
like,
obviously
like,
there's a
yeah,
lot
it's this guy just in a different universe has a new name now. It's
Yeah.
his
I mean, the
scientist.
story's so convoluted anyway that's like the least surprising thing going on is a man having a different
Right.
name. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Pretty much.
Now the story
Yeah,
in the
especially
story in the
with that.
second one really hooked me. Sorry, Peter.
No, I was just gonna, especially with how absurd the stories were and how
Yeah.
abstract the whole style of the game was. But they aged pretty well, I think, the Max Payne series.
Oh, absolutely, they do.
The
They were the
gameplay's
last
pretty
ones I
solid.
played in all of it, and I still haven't played 3 yet. I need to.
I'm
on
actually
that, but
playing through 3 now. It is. I wish I
think
didn't
that
sit on it.
Didn't I don't think Remedy had a hand in 3 at all.
But,
I didn't play any.
Rockstar. I think Rockstar took over with another company for that. I think. Might be wrong.
it's not too bad though.
Anyway, I think they're fantastic at everything they do.
Yeah,
Nice.
there's the story of 2. I didn't play 1, but I watched like a few recap videos of the first one before the second one
Yeah.
came out. Because again, it was just like this big game's coming out on PS5, and I really want to play it.
Yeah.
Like everyone's talking about it, so I'm going to watch a recap and I'm going to play it. I was hooked on the story so quick. My favorite parts about the game, and I'm sure this is kind of unanimous, is just like doing the investigations and like figuring out what the fuck
I
was
love
going
that,
on.
yeah.
It was so interesting. Like I wanted to find out what was going on just as much as like Saga Anderson did every time. I was like, wait, this is starting to make sense. Wait, no, but then there's this. Oh, it's this guy. Oh, it's that guy. Like it was constantly so interesting. Every like twist and turn that it took was
coming off
amazing.
the first Alan Wake especially, and then Control, and you get into Alan Wake 2, you're like, wait, one of the main mechanics of this game is the red yarn bulletin board.
Yeah.
This is awesome.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
bulletin
absolutely
board
loved it.
was great, and I'm not gonna pretend I knew what was going on in the story. I kind of do, and I've had it like I watched a few YouTube videos about it, and I was like, okay, I kind of get it. But the ending, when like, spoiler alert again for Alan Wake 2, when like Saga is calling like her daughter, and they don't even show you what happens, but I was like, I've never been so invested in someone like trying to reach out to their daughter in my entire life. I was like, please pick up the phone, please pick up the phone, please pick up the phone, because you just spent like 20 hours trying to do this shit, and you're so invested in this
Thing
character.
is, they do show you. You just have to play again in the final draft.
Okay.
But
Okay,
it's
okay.
it's the new game plus. You keep all your weapons and stuff, and then there's also new story elements, like some videotapes you can find and some extra manuscript pages.
Okay.
And also playing it again with the new perspective of having seen how, like the story completed.
Yeah.
And you go back through again, and you're like, oh, I actually understand what's like happening at this point for real.
Really? Okay, maybe
Then
I
you
should
get
give
to the
that a
end,
try.
and it goes through the end up to that point, and then comes back in with like the actual
Really?
worth another go.
Interesting. Worth another go. So I don't follow anything or anyone to do with Alan Wake, so I never knew that was a thing. Like, so that's really interesting to hear. I thought that was just like the ending. Like that's it. That's just
once you beat it. Well, they didn't add it till later, so maybe you beat it before they added it.
Maybe I think I beat it like as like very shortly after it came out. To be honest.
Yeah,
it reminds me of those movies where you watch it and you're like, okay, that was cool. I kind of got it. And then the second time you watch it, and then you see all these things that are foreshadowing that you didn't know were foreshadowing, or like they were alluding to things that
Exactly.
you didn't understand yet, and then you have that much more appreciation of the movie, like, oh, this is good, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I played it through the first time. Then I saw the main menu, the final draft popped up. I Googled it. I was like, what is this? Everyone's like, yep, just play it again, get the real ending. I was like, I just immediately was like, okay, here we go
Sure,
again.
let's do it. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
there
think
was
I've played it
some
4 times through now.
4
Nice.
times. Jesus. If I was gonna criticize the game, the only thing I could say is like every time there was combat, I was a bit like, okay. Like every time there was a combat sequence, I kind of just wanted to skip it, which is so funny because I'm usually the opposite in like any game. I'm like, oh my god, just let music go on, let music go on, let music go on. But the combat felt a little bit like padding sometimes, and I was like, I don't really think
Sometimes it has like one of those random encounter systems. So
Yeah.
sometimes it's like you're out trying to solve one of the little puzzle boxes or whatever, and then it's like, oh, okay, gotta fight. Hold on.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
I feel like
yeah.
when the intentionally placed ones are good. The ones that
Yeah.
just pop up feel a little bit of like that. Okay, hold on, I'm doing something, please.
Yeah, there was these like black figures that would like sometimes attack you and sometimes not, and I could never figure out what the difference was between like the hostile ones and the non-hostile ones in the dark place where the when the ghosts are walking around. Some of them would just fucking grab you, and some of them would be like completely chill. It's funny.
It's oh, there's a way to tell. I
Is there
think
a way
it's
to
just
tell?
ones that are holding weapons.
Oh, really?
Like if they have a pipe in their hand, they'll hit you. Some of them don't, and they'll just push you. And
Yeah.
those are surprises. But yeah, the dark place ones are a little worse.
Yeah.
Again, not much variation in enemy design, but more than there was before. So
Yeah, I mean, I don't relate to that. That's not what I like the game for anyway. I like the game for all of the other stuff. It was just it was a fantastic time.
Yes.
Like I remember
It's
all of the random mysteries and shit. Like I remember at one point there's like the murders in the hotel and shit, and that takes you on like a 2-hour tangent. And then there's like the movie theater sequence as well. I was like, holy shit, where they play like a 5-minute long movie for you when
It's
you
like,
complete
yeah,
the mission.
it's not even 5. It's like it is a 20-minute
What?
short film
Nice.
just in the middle of the game. That's
Yeah.
optional. They're not like, okay, now you have to watch this. Like you complete the movie theater and you could just like turn around and leave. There's just like a countdown
Yeah.
on the screen.
I didn't
when you're
realize it
leaving.
was that
So
long.
if you just assume like, oh, they're just doing like a countdown loop or whatever, I can just leave. But if you like stay, there's
Yeah.
a 20-minute short film.
There's a
I like that
20-minute
about
short
Max Payne. They'd have TVs here and there, and you'd be walking
Yeah.
by, and they'd be playing a show, and you can
It's
just
like
sit there and
that.
you could watch the TV, and it was like the whole show. And every time I pass the TV, I'm like, oh, it's Bat Boy again.
That boy, yeah.
Yeah, and I just sit there and halt my mobster killing, just for a bit.
Yeah,
I like that extra flavor they put in.
Super cool blend of live action and video games.
Yeah. Any other outside of Remedy? Any other standout games
Yeah.
for you at the moment?
Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, completely well done in everything it does, I think. Zelda's just an all-time top, the whole series. Even the bad ones
Even the bad
at the
ones.
top. Except Zelda 2.
Oh, nobody likes Zelda 2. I
Apparently,
was
no
so
one likes Zelda
disappointed when
2.
I got that. Going back to disappointment. Oh man,
back
let
to
me tell you, I
disappointment,
I like the original on NES. Even though I had no idea what I was doing, I had one of those neighbors who was older than me, and he'd come over, and of course he knew where everything was, and it was like he was like a master, and to me, and I was like, oh, and I knowing someone who knew stuff about it, now you knew you had the lore and you knew where to go and how to do it, and it felt like you were in a secret club when you actually knew to put the bomb right here, and that's where you go for the cave this is the whole entire level. Like they hit it, and there's one tree and this row of all these other similar looking trees, and you just have to know where to put the bomb. And then it's like, oh, okay, Link 2. This is gonna be great. And then they did the whole, the 2D side scroller, and it was like, what even is this? I just couldn't grasp it, even at my age. Even now, I'm seems like such a
still
blunder.
rough. Yeah.
But then, speaking of all-time favorites, Link to the Past, that just knocked it out of the park.
Heard good things.
Right after
Absolutely.
that. Yeah,
I
that
didn't
brought
get
me
the-
right back in.
I didn't get till the other 2D ones till way later because I only had the NES one and then the GameCube. So all I had were the 3D ones. But I they put out that collector's edition disc for the GameCube. So I had Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, and then the NES ones were also on that disc.
Nice. Yeah.
Zelda 2 on the GameCube if you want it. But yeah, so I had the core 3D ones for a while, and then later on when I had other methods, I could play the 2D ones. But Link to the Past, even out of those, top tier.
Yeah, you mentioned
Very nice.
you mentioned Kingdom Come 2, and I've just been thinking recently. I'm kind of sad that regardless of what happens this year, it probably won't receive Game of the Year because of GTA 6. Obviously, it really saddens me.
Well, we'll see. GTA 6 might
Might be
an early
delayed.
release bungle. I doubt it.
Mhm.
Rockstar's normally pretty good about that, but
Yeah, or it might be delayed either way. Yeah,
or delayed. That's more likely, I think.
Far more likely. Far more likely.
But yeah, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 just came out. It was wonderfully optimized. Of course, a couple of bugs here and there, but nothing awful, and performance was great.
No, nothing awful.
And the writing is like consistently solid in the whole game. Every
very
side
good.
quest is super engaging. Like a lot of games, you'll get to a side quest and it's like, uh-oh, go get this thing for me. And you
Yeah.
go do it and they're like, thanks. And like, it's like, who cares? That was
Mhm.
like, it gets to the point where you start skipping every dialogue. It's like, I don't care. Just give me the quest marker. I'll walk there and come back and hand it to you. And that's done. This one, like every single side quest is like its own little
like pages of
very
voice acting.
engaging story.
Pages of voice
Yeah.
acting for every side quest. Like it's every side quest is instead of it being like a fetch quest, that like every side quest has like a person or multiple people who have an issue, and they all have different takes on the issue. And the issue will be caused by more people or another group of people, and you'll go and speak to them. And then, oh no, one of them's sick. You have to make them. Or are you good at alchemy? You're gonna have to make them a potion, otherwise they're not going to give you information. You can skip that information though; it's optional. Just if you make this guy a potion, you'll have some information, and then all these other people who originally had the issue with, they're nice. Oh wait, now you're on their side. Oh no, what are you gonna do now? Wait, the first guy's evil. Let's go and kill him. Oh wait, no, you don't want to kill him because he's got your fucking daughter. Whatever. Yeah. That's how every side quest kind of goes in that game. It's great. I love it.
That's what I loved in Deus Ex. It was one of the first games where like not only your decisions mattered when you talk to people, but whenever there's a problem, there was multiple solutions, and there was a lot of gray area between what was the right answer. There wasn't just you kill him or you let him live. There was kind of do you let the revolution continue and go on, or do you like help the resistance and they actually dove into it too. There's a lot of philosophy and politics that they intertwined in it, and just when a game gets you to really think about a decision, like instead of like some games which like, oh well, I'm the bad guy, so he's gonna die. You just think like that when you're sitting there at a decision, like, oh man, which one should I do? Those are my favorite choices. The really, really deep ones, impactful. What are you gonna say? I'm sorry.
I don't even know. There's this one. I do have one. It's a minor complaint because honestly, it's funny.
Yep.
But their script is so large, and I guess either they didn't have like the same person directing all the voice acting, or they didn't like have a pronunciation book. Like, hey, this is how you say this thing. So like you'll be within the same conversation. Some people will be like, okay, we need to go back to Root Hard Palace, and someone's like, yes, and once we're there, we'll have to talk to the young Ruthard. It's like you're saying it different, and
this
it's not like
on multiple occasions.
It's not like you saw it written out and you didn't hear it. Like he just said it a different way. Why are you pronouncing it differently? It's such a common thing. It's pretty funny.
I think that's just a side effect of, like you said, the script being so large, meaning they probably had to record things at like on massive time differences and like add things and change things, and just this process must have been fucking ridiculous. I honestly can't imagine it. The process must have been hell to try and arrange all of that, voice acting, and I think that's just a result of that. I had a funny bug today where like how the dialogue options come up, and this is the first time this has happened to me. It was like Henry was like, the options were like okay, and then yes, and then it was like open world dot video game dot voice acting dot line one dot Henry says this thing, and I clicked on it, and Henry was just like, all right. Like it was just, I don't know. They obviously just didn't change the the voice acting file name
That's funny.
to an option, which is very funny. But like most bugs are just innocent like that though. There's only a very few actually annoying bugs I've run into. Like I have one that's still ongoing recently where I physically can't finish a side quest because an NPC is bugged where I can't speak to them. And I'm at the point now where
I've got one like that.
yeah, I'm at the point now where someone has told me, it's Jishka. Jishka told me that you can't, like, if you don't do this side quest, which is really good that they do this, by the way. He tells you, like, if you don't do this side quest with Catherine now, then I'm gonna take her away from Guttenberg, so you can't do so you won't be able to do that whole thing anymore. Like, he said that to me, and I was like, shit, okay. Like, am I gonna wait for Warhorse to fix the bug? Should I wait like 3 months before proceeding the story because I want to finish the side quest?
It's a cool side quest.
Yeah,
I have one. There's the I don't know what they call it, but the Thieves Guild-esque thing in Kuttenberg. And I finished their quest line. There's still quest markers on one guy who doesn't have a quest for me, and like it finished, and they're like, "Yeah, thanks for not selling us out to this guy in our guild. He was just trying to make a quick buck. Anyway, we've taken care of him, so he's no longer with us or whatever. Like we killed him. It's over. Quest line's done. Cool." Walk outside and he's just still hanging outside like, "Hey, what's up?" It's like, did they not just kill you? It's like it's over. The game just doesn't know that it's over and that they've did what they said they did. But again, I finished the quest line, so whatever. I got the content, I guess.
Yeah,
it's just funny.
The bug that I have with the I don't remember the name of the quest, but the Catherine murder mystery quest was I had that same bug before this 1.2 patch that came out yesterday, and it was a guy who again wouldn't speak to me, and then they fixed it in this patch. They did it like I was like, oh my god, I went up and spoke to him, and the prompt was there, and it worked, and then the quest moved to the next phase, and the same bug happened again. In the next dialogue bit, it's a part where the investigator man, it's Lumiere his name, and Catherine are sat down at a table, and my quest prompt is like, tell Lumiere about your investigation, but Lumiere just doesn't have a conversation prompt, and him and Catherine have been sat at that desk for like 5 weeks in game time. They must be fucking famine and dying of dehydration by this point. I go in there at like 3 in the morning sometimes, like, you guys still here? And they're both just sat there staring at the fucking brick wall. That's probably the worst bug I've had so far, which is honestly fine. Like if you're gonna have a worst bug, fine. It's a side quest. It's completely optional.
In the bigger scale of your game, meaningful scale, not just big map, and like the higher quality the rest of your game is, it's super easy to forgive bugs like that. Like a super non-issue when it's like, this one thing out of 1 million things that do work doesn't work. Oh well, it happens.
Yeah, exactly. Obviously, I'd rather there was no bugs, but if you're gonna have bugs, if you're gonna have,
I prefer it if possible.
Let's not set the standard here that we're okay with bugs. Let's not set that precedent.
You're not going to catch every possible bug in your testing phase. Then when you release it to millions of people, they're gonna find new ones. You're like, oh shoot, we didn't know about that.
Yeah. Well,
but then the trend now is just to not test it, just to put it out there and let your players test it for you. What was speaking of Battlefield? Weren't they doing something like that, where they just kind of give people early access to it?
Oh, they will be doing. They haven't yet, but they will be doing that. Yeah, they're basically going to make like the alpha public or whatever, which is just a trend. A trend that I don't like. A trend that I don't like.
Skates pre-alpha.
Oh, really?
It's just skate. So it's just messing around on a skateboard. But
I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah,
that's funny.
There's a new skate coming out.
All right.
So
I would like to talk to you, gentlemen, about this Xbox AI friend. Xbox AI friend. We like AI friends, right? Because, if you don't have an actual friend, Xbox can be your friend. I'm kind of sad they didn't call it Cortana.
All my friends are AI.
Can't say I'm a fan. Also, haven't heard of this.
Oh, you haven't? Well, let me enlighten you.
So, yeah. So anyway, in the video clip, some guy's playing a game, and then he has, I don't know how he addresses it. Does he actually say Cortana?
It's Copilot now. Whatever. Is it the same
Yeah, Copilot.
Brandon.
And he asks like, how did I die there? And it's like, you pushed without your teammates. You know, you need to lay back. You know, hang back and wait for your supports. You're going and like it's just a series of clips where he's asking like, what character should I choose? And it's like, oh, your McCree is really good on this stage. You know, and it's like,
That's the last thing we need. We do not need an AI assisted Spider-Man player trying to push backline by himself and begging for heals. We don't need it.
Well, I hope there's a setting where it's like, what the fuck are you doing? Get in the fucking right position, you fucking shithead. I hope there's a setting for that.
Copilot, bully me, please, in this
Yeah.
game. Make me do better.
I made a very sarcastic remark to my friends. I'm like, no, guys, it's super great. Now you won't have to tell him to get off Spider-Man. AI will do it for you.
I feel like they definitely need to have settings in place like, oh, you pick Spider-Man. They're like, no, we're not helping you. Absolutely not.
You're out of our reach now.
Do that yourself.
Yeah.
We can't condone you play Spider-Man.
But yeah, it's just awkward. I mean, it feels like what is this accomplishing? You know, that they couldn't. I feel like there's so much to learn yourself. There's so much to learn from others that relying on an AI, it's kind of like the LLM thing, you know. Like, sure, you can ask it for answers to questions and stuff like that, but when you rely on it over a Google search or looking yourself, you know, you start to lose parts of your critical thinking. And this is something that should come naturally to you, that you shouldn't have to ask. And because that they're prone to errors, they're going to tell you some crap sometimes, you know?
Yeah,
Like,
I think it's not something we're gonna have to super worry about in most spaces forever. I think it's a mega inflated bubble at the moment because right now it's every company's opportunity to grab up as much investment money as they can, as they promise their AI is going to be able to do this, this, and this, and this, and this. That's why it's getting implemented into everything everywhere because it's promises that they don't necessarily have to fulfill, that they get money for, and they just have to occasionally show progress in that, which is why you have AI assistants popping up on everything. But eventually, hopefully, that stops when they realize, like, hey, you haven't gotten it to do this thing you said. It's like, yeah, because it's bad at it and we can't make it happen. That's it. And then the bubble pops.
Yeah.
Hopefully, it might develop way past that.
I think.
And then it's game over. But
yeah.
I'd say both are true. Both can be true. Both, like, the bubble definitely needs to pop. There's a lot of
the
marketing
bubble's going to be
involved.
from most spaces. There are going to be parts
it's going to be from the hype,
AI is
which
going to
is so much hype.
develop
But
into a
once
different
they start refining it and they don't just like cram it into every crevice they can, once it's actually starting getting useful and accurate and reliable, you know, then we'll see some progress on it. But right now, it's like it's counterproductive to the whole AI. Is to just put it in everything it doesn't belong, and when it's poorly implemented, when it's not perfect, when it's not good enough for the job, like if people, when it does eventually get better later, they'll have a worse opinion on it. So you're just, you know, you're killing the hen that lays the golden eggs, right?
I also think that it's like a convenience thing too. Like it's always still more convenient to just Google a problem. Like, why Copilot's not going to know how like if I'm editing in DaVinci Resolve. Copilot on my computer is not going to know why this thing is happening in DaVinci Resolve or how to do this thing. So if I'm not going to it for help in like basic, I'm at my computer, it should be right here helping me if that's what they want. It can't do that for 90% of use cases. So I'm not going to be like, is this a Copilot question? It's just everything's a Google question. It's just how it works.
Well, I think that
not
depends on how useful Xbox design it to be for their Xbox games, right? Because if it's like you know, like the examples you gave Peter, well, the examples that Xbox gave. I think if the quality of it is consistently like that, I think there will be people who will use it and will like value that and enjoy it. I don't think I would, because like you said, it's like there's these games, a large part of the reason why they're fun is because you like figure out stuff like that by yourself, or it's the game's job to like explain things to you. So having like something in your ear just telling you everything seems a little bit counterintuitive.
And I think that there's a kind of psychological part of like I'm improving myself. I'm figuring this out versus somebody's telling you what to do, you know?
Yeah.
Like it doesn't feel like you know when you're doing some chore or something and you have no guidance, you kind of figure out what works by experience, and it's kind of hammered into you. You know, you get the muscle memory for it. Whereas, you know, when you're in class and they're just you know, like telling you something, it doesn't hit it like when you're actually doing it, you know? Like
Mhm.
they can,
Yeah.
and especially, you know, when they just keep repeating it and yeah, I know, I get it, but you're just not connecting it. And another thing is there's so many games. There's just so many video games. This is something that they're gonna have to severely limit to whatever games they were programmed for or whatever, because there's just going to be so many times where you're going to be asking it and it's not set. They have to uh, what do I call it? Like teach it for each game, and if it's not taught, then it's going to be useless.
That's the thing.
I
I
suppose
don't
so, yeah.
think that this is ever going to evolve past a very, very surface level use case. Like, what are they expecting every dev team to now develop instructions for this AI about how their game works, or are they having a team at Microsoft to help train the AI model on how games work? Like, do they have a team in there playing games for the AI to watch so that it learns how the game works? Like, and they're gonna do that for every game that comes out? There's just no
There's like
shot that
yeah,
happens on either side.
there's
Maybe they
overhead
throw
for
maybe they throw money
developing it.
at developer teams, choice ones, to like help with it, but they're definitely not doing that for everybody. So again, it's going to turn into just like how it is on Copilot. Like, Copilot doesn't know how every app on my computer works.
Mhm.
It only knows how Microsoft stuff works. So you can only ask it about Windows, just about. And on Xbox, you could probably only ask it about like Overwatch and Call of Duty. And that's going to be about it.
Mhm.
Depends how.
And
Sorry.
it's overhead, like you said, for the companies who are designing. Either it's going to be on them, the burden to teach it or whatever, or Microsoft or whatever, and eventually one of them's going to give. Developers are going to say, "We're not going to do this," or Microsoft's going to say, "We're spending way too much money. We can't do this anymore." And that's just the development part, because after it's implemented, how's it going to see? It has to get a feed of the video. It has to take captures of your video. And there's two major things about it. One is the overhead. You're processing this locally probably, and you're capturing your screen, which is going to take some resource, maybe not a lot, still some. And then there's the whole privacy aspect. People are not going to like, even if it's AI, looking at every image of your screen.
That's true. That's true.
Which
Yeah, I didn't even think
was
about
big
that.
when Microsoft was like, "Oh yeah, we're going to have Copilot watch everything you do."
Yeah, take
And then people were
screenshots
like,
all the time.
we're not comfortable with that, and that's completely understandable. So yeah, that's definitely something that I can see as being a
And
huge.
the amount of overhead that it would require versus how convenient or useful the feature is
Mhm.
that ratio is so out of whack. And what are they planning on monetizing the AI? Like, okay, you pay $5 a month to get
Oh, I don't know. Peter, do you
your
know?
AI. Like,
Hmm.
there's no one's gonna be like, oh, I gotta get an Xbox because of this AI. Also, they're
It'll
putting
tell
all
me
of
why
their
I'm so bad.
they're moving all their exclusives to other consoles and stuff, so they're trying to like decentralize the Xbox brand from the console in the first place. There's no, that's what I'm saying. There's no plan here.
Mhm.
It's just collecting investor money while the AI bubble is here. That's all this is.
Yeah, pretty much.
think I
Doesn't
agree.
belong there. not going to be widely accepted. Even if it is, it's not going to last long.
It's
I think
going to be
it's
like
already not.
Copilot on a computer where nobody touches it because
I swore this was like a Blizzard April Fool's Day thing at some point. Like it seems like something they do.
It does
You guys
sound
on our
like
phones?
that.
Yeah.
You guys are on phones. It does sound like an April Fool's joke, to be honest. Although I think I'm a little bit less cynical than you two. I understand everything you say about the about why it's probably happening and why like it's probably not going to last. But I do think that just for the fact that it is from a technological perspective, kind of cool to have an AI that will like speak or bring text pop-ups and like tell you about stuff. I think that's kind of that's probably the biggest like attraction to it. I just think it's gonna be cool because like like you said, it's that AI bubble, and I think a lot of people will buy into it for a little bit. I don't think it'll have legs to stand on though. Unless unless
it'll
it's like
be here for a bit.
extremely well trained, which it probably won't be because that's just like you said, it just sounds unreasonable.
There's some edge use cases that I found it useful. Like anytime I get an error, like especially with Python code, I'm like I just paste it right in, no context. I just paste it, and it'll give you pretty good guidance. And every now and then I'll see like a setting in a program I just don't understand. I'll literally just like take a screenshot and I'll be like, "Can you explain these?" And then I'll just kind of sometimes it can save you, from a Google search deep dive. Sometimes the Google search is better. It's kind of, a balance at the moment. But
for things like that, like especially for coding, like I don't see why you would need to write the same code that's been done like a million times already by other people to do very basic things when you could just ask and then have it spit it out. Like that's great use case. It shouldn't be as big of a company, maybe OpenAI. It should they could have done well and monetized for way less, but for way longer if they had just stuck to what it was good at. But I think the thing that drives me crazy about AI, first of all, the insane just theft of all content ever made ever.
Obviously, naturally.
That's crazy. And then it's just like they never like reach a goal and say like we did it, we made it. It's like, okay, we did this thing, but then also we're in the future we're also gonna be able to do this, and then maybe in the future we'll be able to fly spaceships with AI, and then your cars will be AI, and then it's like you sound like a toddler, just like and then like what is your end goal? It's just AI, literally everything, and there's no way that works. It's not even super great at what it does right now in most use cases.
Yeah, what's really annoying is I remember there was this guy, I forget what state he was in, but he was like sharing like some Spider-Man DVDs or something, and now he's looking at like up to 10 years in prison time, for sharing some Spider-Man DVDs online or something. And then meanwhile, Facebook absolutely just scours the internet, torrents illegally acquired copyrighted materials. We're talking thousands or millions of books and all sorts of media, like terabytes and terabytes of it, publicly known. They admitted to it, and it's like, what's going to happen to them?
Can you explain this to me? What do you mean
about
the Facebook thing?
They were caught torrenting, or one of their devs admitted to getting a torrent of a very widely known database that includes a lot of copyrighted content that's commonly used to train AI.
I see.
And they used that, and they admitted to it, and they were caught, and nothing's happened so far.
Of course. The big topic for this week's episode, we're going to talk about the worst gaming trends. So when I say trends, I mean like the obvious ones, microtransactions, loot boxes, etc., etc. Fucking lots to talk about here. Who's going to go first? What do you think is the worst or some of the worst gaming trends ever?
Oh man, the whole mobile scene, one of the worst, I'd have to say, is when you're just playing the game. I just want to play the game. I don't want the cosmetics. I don't want the pay to win. I just want to play the game. And then they gate it behind like the time. Oh, you have to spend these resources if you want to play more than 2 hours a game. Like mobile games are terrible for that.
Oh, does that even count as a trend? I mean, it is a trend, but like that's just blatantly anti-consumer like toxicity. That's not even like
it's not
so
a massive
weird for a
trend, but
game.
yeah.
It's so weird for a game to try its hardest to keep you from playing a game. It's like,
exactly. The whole point is you want to play, and the whole thing of the lure of most microtransactions is you're playing the game, but with some extra currency, some cosmetic stuff, or your stronger gear, or yada yada, like an addition to the game you play, but as a detriment to the game itself. Like, yeah, like how could you even do that? That's definitely one of the worst for me because it's inexcusable,
absolutely. Matthew?
length. Games are too long.
I didn't even think of that. That's a really good one.
I thought you were about to say they're too short.
You don't get to be a long game unless you're a good game. I hate when games are like take Ubisoft. I don't think their games are super ridiculously long. I guess some of the newer Assassin's Creeds maybe, but it's like if you're just doing like a generic open world with nothing to do in it, and then your game takes like even 40 hours is crazy for that level of quality. Like you're just wasting time. Like imagine how much better this was if your areas were smaller, you didn't focus on being open world, and you like cut out half the side quests and made the ones you have even better. And then your quality goes, and then it takes me like max 20 hours to get there. Like your game would be so much better.
Mm-hmm. No, I
everybody
fully
wants
agree.
all of your time.
I fully agree. Yeah, like I feel like all developers are kind of like, even before a game begins development, they're always thinking like, how do we make this 100 hours? Like, whatever this is, how do we make this 100 hours? I feel like everyone's going for the 100-hour mark recently. Like the most recent Assassin's Creed game, I think, is Valhalla. I have no idea. I think it's Valhalla, but that game was crazy long. I remember like you'd get out of the prologue after like 15 hours if you were like really taking your time. And that game had like 3 or 4 different maps in it, and it was like England, Norway, and shit like that. And it was so long, but a lot of it was like reused or reskinned boss fights and stuff like that. Like it was very clearly padded, and it was very clear that they just wanted to make a long game. Like they wanted a long game.
Especially for bosses, like every encounter should be unique. Like if your game is 80 hours long and you've like reused the same boss over and over, Zelda's the exception. Zelda's the exception. They do
Elden Ring's the
well.
exception. Elden Ring's the exception.
Elden Ring is the exception.
Monster Hunter's the exception.
No, it isn't.
Monster Hunter's only boss fights.
It's not actually. I just wanted to chime in.
But that it's like when it's obvious padding is when it's like you don't respect my time. I can't get to the end of your story because you put a million roadblocks in my way.
Yeah. It's definitely quantity over quality.
I've played some games that are 5 hours long max, and just beautiful.
Chef's kiss.
Super well done, and they didn't waste my time. They told their story, and their gameplay was fun, and it was as long as it needed to be to get its creative vision across.
It's and the longer you make the game, the harder it is to make the quality for it, because there's like you said, there's so many shortcuts they can take, and they do take them. Yes. And they're so easy to take, they're so easy to implement. Let's reskin this character, let's just change the color, or let's put them in different spots this time. Whereas something like Baldur's Gate 3, that's just content. You can just dive into it. There's all these different areas, there's all these different stories, and all these different fights and there really is a variety of content that for the length you play it, you're actually engaged, versus, like you said, artificial.
Games like Baldur's Gate especially, but then like Witcher 3, Kingdom Come Deliverance, like there's very few of like the big AAA, now quadruple A releases that like are deserving of their length. Some of them are really good at it, and others most are just absolutely not, way too long.
Well, maybe we can segue into this with grinding. any games that require you to do any kind of grinding, I'm just
I'm
not a fan
50-50.
of.
I'm 50-50 on this because some
I
good
just
grind I enjoy.
and
Sometimes the
I've
grind
played
is hidden in the
MMOs a
fun.
lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean I'm a WoW veteran several times over, several times retired, and so I know how
That's not the
bad the
flex you
grind
think
can
it
get.
is.
But when games kind of, I can understand when they make an optional grinding, you get this, grinding, you get that. But like when it's almost required to get to this part, you need to keep doing this till you can get to that, and it's just artificially extending the game on by forcing you to redo something over and over, or doing something really mundane like looking for these items that you just go around, and like that's just so boring. That's the best way to kill my interest in a game.
Yeah,
100%.
absolutely.
100%.
Me and my friend, when Final Fantasy Tactics came out,
Mhm.
awesome
Mhm.
game, amazing game. After we beat it once, we played it again, but we did no random encounters. Whenever you'd move from one spot to another, you'd have a random encounter, but it was a chance. So what we do, if we got a random encounter, we'd reset the game, we'd load the save over, and we'd do it until we didn't get the random encounter, just story to story quest, and that was hard. I mean, it started strong, but the later you got in the game, the more you're just like, oh man, they really need you to do these extra fights to get you geared. And at some point, we're just like, this is impossible. It's it's just so deeply implemented. But yeah, it just goes to show some games, they they force it. Some of them just kind of make it seem natural, and
Mhm.
sometimes they just shove it down your throat.
Mhm.
I have a bit of a curveball one because I feel like this isn't one that I hear talked about very often. Maybe it is. It's kind of just an inconvenience, and that is this is obviously really only a PC thing, but every game having its own fucking unique launcher.
Mm. Yeah,
This
yeah,
was, this was
Yeah.
a big one for me back in my big PC days.
hmm
It's I always think about what I believe it's Gabe Newell from Valve says that piracy is a service issue.
yeah.
Like if you make it harder to get a game off of your service, your launcher, than it is to just pirate the game, then people are gonna opt to pirate it. But if your system is set up to where you just get in, everything's simple, it's got everything you need in the launcher, and it just works. There's no bloat. Then it's super. Like it's way easier to just buy the game how you're supposed to and play it in there. Um, and I think most launchers are just there to get numbers that they can show at a quarterly meeting.
hmm
And they do not care about the actual service of their launcher, which is why they are awful to use. And they're super slow and bloated.
Yeah, Origin is pretty terrible. But I'll have to say the worst, the absolute worst experience I've had with a store is the Microsoft Store.
Oh,
I
really?
remember at
Microsoft.
one point I was streaming to my friends my experience with the store because they couldn't believe how absolutely terrible it was. Like I'd search for the game, I couldn't search for it successfully. I'd find it, and the button to click to download wasn't there, and I have to go back and go back, and the button was there, and I'd click it and it wouldn't work. And then like okay, I'd click it, but then and it'd show up on my downloads, but it wouldn't. Literally every step of the process, it was an absolute chore, and it was so terrible that I don't even know if I ever got it working actually, but
I also had a
it,
bad experience with them that
it's my camera
broke my computer and
Broke your
not
computer.
completely.
broke
Yeah,
your
yeah.
computer.
So I had Game Pass on my computer,
Uh-huh.
and I had a couple games installed from Game Pass. I did not know that was the source of this issue my computer had for like a year, where I would turn it on, and then my desktop would stay black, and my taskbar would just sit there and flash for like
What?
3 minutes.
How did you figure out that was
And
Game
then
Pass?
I had Googled over and over and over, and just eventually a thread popped up during this year while I was having this problem that said if you have a Game Pass game installed not on your boot drive, it can cause this issue.
What?
So I uninstalled my Game Pass stuff and it cleared up. Microsoft, you make Windows and you make Game
Windows.
Pass.
Mm.
To have your
make
department
Windows.
talk, please.
Yeah, that's what I would absolutely yell to my friends. I'm like, Microsoft, you make Windows. You know how this works. You know how your system works. How do you make it so bad? Like their Xbox app. Like I know I remember when there's the Microsoft account you sign into Windows. There's a Microsoft account you sign into your browser, and there's a Microsoft account you sign into the Xbox.
Yeah.
And if there's a difference between any of these accounts, good luck. Because I've had some terrible experiences, especially when I have the Battle Pass on one account and it keeps thinking I'm the other account because it's linked to my system.
Yeah, I've had a similar thing happen before. Yeah, it's fucking
it's
terrible.
terrible. It's awful, and it doesn't tell you. You'll just try to log in and just nothing happens. You know, you don't even get an error code, which is the worst. At least give me a number I can Google so other
Yeah.
people can like cry with me
Yeah.
about this. It's like the crash to desktop. You know, it's just a mystery that you just don't ever figure out until later when you're like, oh, it's just a bad game.
It's just a bad game. Anyone else got
Just
any
a bad
more?
game.
I have loads.
Let's see. Okay, go ahead.
Well, this is one that I just thought of right now because I guess I was just thinking about some games and I realized that this is something that annoys me a little bit, and that is games that are open world for no reason. This is like a very recent one. Games that are open world for no reason. And the main example that's coming to my head is Halo Infinite. And the thing with Halo Infinite is that being open world for no reason is probably the least of its issues, because that game has a lot of just bizarre problems. But that's just a really prime example in my head, especially as like a huge Halo fan, where all of the stuff that was good in that game, which there wasn't like loads of, but all like the good encounters and the cool stuff was not in the open world. The open world was just there because it was a popular trend at the time, and Microsoft wanted to get in on it with one of their biggest IPs.
It also sets up for this other trend within this,
Mhm.
where they have like 4 to 5 activities that can happen. It's Ubisoft's fault, by the way, that this is a trend. There's like 4 or 5 activities in the open world, and it's just those sprinkled out with large gaps in between.
Yeah.
But Halo was always so good in their campaigns because every bit of it was intentionally designed, and one thing led to another, and that's how it went. Then you take
I love their
and
campaigns so much.
and you just break it out and split it up into areas, and it's like, okay, now I get to swing and walk and occasionally fly to the next point. Like all the momentum dies.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
definitely.
And I had such a good experience with the campaigns through Halo, Halo 2, Halo 3, Halo 4. And you know, I'd play all of them co-op with my brother. They were like our series to play, you know. And then Infinite came out and it didn't even have a co-op campaign. Like, how are you even Halo at that point? They had co-op.
Got it 8 months later.
It came out 8 months later, but I don't think they ever released split. Did they ever release split screen? I know they said they were going to, but I think they cancelled it.
I don't know.
I think they did cancel.
I think they canned it because getting online co-op to work turned out to be such a huge task that I think any possibility of split screen was completely canned. It was just not. It wasn't feasible. Like that game from the ground up was just corroded. Like it was absolutely just broken as fuck. There was no way they were ever going to get split screen to work. But it's funny though, because I say that, but some modders did get split screen to work because it was in like some game files and someone managed to like turn it on. But as you can imagine, it was just terrible. Like it would just crash, and every time you tried to do anything, it would crash. So obviously they were trying to figure that out, but there ended up being no way around it, and they just completely dropped it.
Yeah.
Halo Infinite's an enigma. It's an enigma of a game.
The multiplayer on it, just in the non-campaign, everything not campaign about Halo Infinite, especially now, is like really, really good. It's I like it a lot.
I'm more
But
positive than negative on Halo Infinite's multiplayer. I put like 300 hours into it when it came out, and I got quite good at it. And that's probably the most I've been into a Halo multiplayer because I was always more of a campaign person. Halo Infinite's
yeah,
multiplayer did grab me though. I had quite a lot of fun on that.
and it does have battle passes, but in the most consumer friendly way, where you can just buy any battle pass that's ever been released ever, and you
Yep.
can work on unlocking stuff forever.
Yep.
I think the worst part about the battle pass trend, that's another one, is that
Mhm.
Go
most
ahead.
of them.
Yeah.
The trend is, I've seen more games do it Halo's way, where you can unlock infinitely, but like
Mhm.
the worst part of them is you pay however much to unlock it, and then you better play in the next 3 months while the pass is active, or else you lose it all and you'll never
Yep.
get it again. And we're never releasing that content anywhere else.
Yeah. So mean. So
It's
evil.
so anti-consumer
Like
that I'm
being-
surprised more people aren't. I'm surprised people are so okay with it, but also people are not okay with it. I think people have just realized that there's no point complaining anymore. Like with stuff like that and things like skill-based matchmaking, complaining about it has just never worked. So everyone has just fallen into submission. Like literally everyone in those like big quadruple A like live service battle pass games, everyone is in full denial or submission mode, literally.
Yeah, there's a few cases
Unfortunately.
where I've heard enough uproar and they changed it. Like who had the battle pass that they broke into two? Was that Apex Legends? Was it?
Oh, I don't
didn't
play
know
that
about
much, so
It was
maybe.
too long, so they
That-
split it.
Yeah, they had a battle pass that they were planning, and they decided to break it into two and then sell it as two separate ones. And the community did not like
Oh.
that. They didn't like the price of
no,
it,
no, no,
and there
no,
was a
no.
huge uproar. And that's one of the few times that I heard the community was able to change one of the battle pass systems in a game.
There is
But
hope.
that was only because it was just
That's
very
like undefendable, right?
right. Yeah, like what can you
Yeah.
say about that? That's just lazy.
Yeah.
And obviously it's predatory. Just like loot boxes, you
Oh,
know.
loot boxes.
If I could segue into that,
Of course.
what I hate so much, I don't buy a lot of skins, but every now and then, you know, especially if the game is either free or very cheap, I'll be like, you know what? I play this game enough. Here's a few bucks. Give me a neat skin for my favorite character, especially
Yeah.
the one that's good. And that one, I
I'm the
want that
same way.
skin. But if it's like I can't get that skin, you can pay me money and you can have a chance to have one of your skins. You know, I want to say who is that for, but I know it works. So obviously it works for people who are, you know, into gambling or
whales.
just just love throwing money at it. But there's skins in like Overwatch that I remember in the first one. I would pay money to buy. I wanted them so bad, but I couldn't. I literally could not. I want to give this game money, and I cannot because they want me to gamble it away. It's such a terrible system.
Yeah.
And it kind of enforces gambling too, in the mindset of, you know,
Absolutely, yeah.
not just adults, but a lot of kids play these games, and it's getting them into this, you know, into thinking like this, which is a terrible way to think about things. So it's just predatory on so many different levels, and I'm glad that like Europe at least is taking a very strong stance against them with their regulations.
Mm-hmm.
You can Overwatch 2's bringing them back.
Yeah, we
Weird
talked about
choice.
this a couple of weeks ago.
mhm.
We
But,
said it was funny how they brought it back like it was a good thing. Like they were like, guys, loot boxes are back. Loot boxes are
Okay,
back.
Overwatch 2, we're talking about biggest disappointments in gaming. Let me tell you, the worst sequel I have ever seen is when they took the original game, they added some characters, they put a big patch on it, and they slapped a number 2 on it. Overwatch 2 was one of the least impactful sequels I've ever seen.
well, the main part of the sequel was the PvE stuff that they canned.
The PvE thing that they promised but never actually released.
Oh, there's that.
Yeah.
And then I think for the most part, the loot boxes died with what is posthumously one of my favorite games, which is the newer Star Wars Battlefront 2.
Mhm.
Once
Right.
they were allowed to fix their game, once again, sorry, DICE. Sorry, you got those guys upstairs.
Mhm.
It became really good. I like closely followed the development. I was I was in game every day when they had new drops with new characters and stuff. Game was super fun.
Yeah, Battlefront 2 from its core was always very strong, but it released with just probably the most anti-consumer form of loot
Oh
boxes
my gosh.
we've
Yeah.
ever seen.
Yeah.
One of the top 3 worst, most anti-consumer microtransaction
Yeah.
implementation ever.
Yes.
Such a shame, because like you said, the game, if it just worked, if it had the same format as the original Battlefront 2, it would have been so good on launch. It was so much fun. The graphics were like still some of the best graphics in a first-person shooter, and just all the prequel inclusion, just everything they did, all the characters,
Oh
everything
yeah, the
was
maps.
the
Were
maps.
great.
Fucking
Yeah, I use
gorgeous.
them in a lot of my videos for reference.
Yeah.
Maybe you do too, Matt. The stages,
Sometimes.
they're so great.
I would play or like I'd follow closely like on the Reddit page, and I'd also be in game with devs, just like community managers whose usernames I recognized, so we'd get to like ask questions and stuff. And on like in game and like on the subreddit, like towards the end of its life, where they knew it was getting canned,
Mm.
and things were obviously getting cut short, like they didn't add a planet phase to one of the game modes. Like there's 3 eras. 2 of them had like planet, and then you go to the ship for supremacy. But one of them, they're just like, we don't have. They're not giving us time. We don't have one of those phases. Like you
That's
only have the
sad.
ship. Sorry.
Mhm.
But and they also had like planned characters that they were like almost done with. Like the devs were so happy to continue making this game, and it was just
Yeah.
like, and you're working on stuff. Drop your pencils. It's over.
It's
so it
tragic.
just like the last drop is like half done.
So
And it was so good.
you said 3 eras. Did it have the sequel era as well?
It did, yeah.
That's so funny, because
Prequel,
I must
original,
have
sequel.
I must have never played a single match of sequel, like literally, because I didn't like, since you said, unless you said that, I would have completely forgotten it was in the game. I think I only
The
played
last
sequel.
heroes they added, which I don't think were supposed to be heroes, I think there's originally supposed to be like a reinforcement
Okay.
class, was BB-8 and whatever the first order version of it was.
Yeah,
so it's just
yeah.
all the heroes and then 2 small ball droids.
Everyone's favorite
It's like,
heroes.
okay.
That's funny.
Yeah, I'll talk up and down about how much I hate microtransactions.
Of course,
But
yeah.
outside of mobile, generally they're more cosmetic related. Something that
Yeah.
changes how your character looks, your icon, or some flavor, some color, something that doesn't impact the gameplay. But stuff like I remember the star card system they had. There was a whole lot of hoopla over that because of just how much pay to win it was.
Oh, and it
And-
is like once you get all the purple cards now, you're like
Yeah,
way better than a base level character.
yeah, that was rough. And that's when they made the comment on Reddit, the most downvoted comment, was
The
it sense
intention
of
is to give the players
accomplishment.
a sense of pride and
Oh my
proud accomplishment.
god. Yeah, we talked about it a few
Yeah.
episodes ago. It
How
has,
out of touch and tone deaf.
hilarious.
Oh,
It has 680,000 downvotes on Reddit, which I didn't even know there was that many fucking people on Reddit. Obviously I kid, but like, Jesus Christ, a lot of people pushed the downvote button on that post. A lot of people. Jesus Christ. Oh, that's so funny. Oh, fuck EA.
Yeah, that's the worst. So pay to win, obviously, which
I mean,
thank
goes
God
without
it's
saying,
not.
really.
Yeah, I mean, it goes without saying but thank God that PC games and mostly consoles have kind of gotten out, but mobile gaming, it's just hit riddled with it,
Mhm.
like that's just how it goes in mobile games, and
It's
that's
an
why I can't
expectation.
get into any of them.
I expect
That's why I
that
just
from
play
anybody.
the
Yeah,
New York Times crossword and Balatro, and that's my mobile gaming experience.
Nice.
that's pretty solid right
Yeah.
there. Speaking of Balatro and European regulations, I remember there was a lot of talk about they were considering giving Balatro like 18 plus or something crazy because it had gambling like elements to it.
Because it
something.
resembled gambling, like visually.
Yeah.
Even though it
Whereas
doesn't, 'cause
games
there's no wager.
Yeah.
whereas games with actual loot boxes and stuff were fine.
Oh god.
But I think eventually they softened up to it and they brought it down to like 13 plus or something
Oh, I hope
weird
so.
like that. But
The only similarity is that they have playing cards.
Yeah,
that
it's
poker also
poker.
has,
That's
but it
that's
could
like the
also be Go
only.
Fish.
Yeah.
Yeah. hmm
What do you?
I mean,
Sorry, Peter.
oh, I was gonna say. I mean, you can make Uno a betting game if you wanted to. It's all about who's playing it.
Good.
True. Yeah. What do you gentlemen think of the whole advanced movement phase? Because that was an interesting one, and I grew up like right in the middle of it. I was like 14, 15 when every game had literally every game had like jetpacks in it and shit. Jetpacks and dashing and flying and shit.
I'd say games make it usually pretty fun. Some games make it feel more fluid than others, which is great.
Yeah.
But I'm all about it. Let me zip around.
Yeah, I mean that's the
If
thing.
your open world's gonna be way too big, at least let me zip through it.
Yeah, when it's balanced, it's great. And I like how especially hero shooters are really good at each individual hero has their own, kind of movement
Mhm.
thing, and it all feels kind of good. And there's like a counter to it, like a lot of these characters can climb up walls or get up on second platforms, and so you counter them with someone with additional movement.
Spider-Man mains
Or,
like the video.
Yeah. or it just gives you extra survivability. It's great that a lot of times too, it's not just I win button. You really have to think when you use it. It's a lot about positioning and
Yeah.
timing and stuff. It's not just a button you press like some of the alts in the game where it's just, oh, now I'm not going to die for 10 seconds, or now someone's going to die guaranteed in this circle. Moon Knight calling you out. Still haven't fixed it.
Moon Knight mains dislike.
All you hear is the moon, and that's the last thing you hear. The moon.
Yeah. Right.
But
so
yeah, my earliest experience were the original Unreal Tournament. I remember they had double jumping.
Oh, in terms of
and they
advanced
had-
movement, you mean?
Yeah.
Right.
They like everyone had a double jump, and you had a wall jump. And my favorite thing in that game was the starter weapon they give you, the shield gun, which is supposed to be one of the crappiest weapons in the game. If you charge it up enough, you can insta-kill people, but you got to hit them. So what I'd do is I'd go into deathmatch games, and I just, only with the movement, you just have to avoid damage, avoid fire, and like it was a really good practice for just learning how to use the movement system, because people are, used to obviously targets moving at the same speed but when you get that little burst, or when you go in one way and you dodge the other. What was great about the double jump is you could change any direction in the air.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you hit a wall, then you could change direction again. So it was really great with misdirecting and just general speeding up and everything. It really gave you that sense of action, when instead of just you hold forward, you move forward. Now you can jump, you can leap, you can climb up walls. You're just bouncing everywhere. You're shucking, you're jiving. You're jumping over their head. Now it feels more like an action movie, and you're actually doing something.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's funny how reactive the industry is with things like that, because there was a phase from like 2013 to like 2016, 17 of every game being like futuristic with advanced movement. But then, because obviously game development takes a couple of years, and by like 2015, 2016, the criticism was starting to pile on about like games being set in the future. I'm really talking about like FPS games and stuff, but like with advanced movement. And then like a year or two would pass after that became like a really big issue, and then like the next release cycle, every game was like boots on the ground, you're a fucking snail, like just like the polar opposite. And stuff like that is really funny, just to see how reactive the industry is, and it really gives you an insight of like the time scale and how like the development cycle kind of works. And it's really funny whenever it happens, because you just see everyone take a hard U-turn every single time something like that happens. And sometimes the timing on it is funny, because then people are like, wait, we kind of like jetpacks, go back, and they're like, come on guys, that's another 3 years of developing a game.
Yeah. And I don't know if it's related, but drop shotting, absolutely hate it. Get out. You could just
that's the OG advanced movement. Drop shotting.
Yeah.
Hated every bit of it.
I drop shot all the fucking
should
time.
not
I'm
should
gonna
not
lie.
work nearly as much as it should.
I have like it's like muscle memory for me. Every time I'm in like a one-on-one head-to-head gunfight.
Well,
Hold
it
the
works
crouch
is the
button.
thing.
Hold the
It
crouch
really
button.
shouldn't, but it
It's
does.
annoying, but it does work.
It does work.
It's unfortunate.
It's actually very consistent.
I feel like they should have a percentage for you to just trip over your own foot, just fall face first, just so they can gun you down and say, "Well, that's what you get."
Yeah. Any other bad trends anyone wants to mention before we start wrapping up?
Mm,
I've covered all my pet peeve trends, I think.
Yeah, Peter.
remakes and remasters is definitely one.
Yeah, I put that in there. Kind of
Yeah.
obviously it's a bit of a weird one because it's good and bad.
They're starting to do it a lot more, where like the game isn't even that old, and they'll do a remaster or a remake.
Yeah.
And
Sometimes they're really more like in Last of Us and Horizon Zero Dawn. They're really just like hardware got a little better since the game came out. Here's a graphical update.
A re-release.
Enjoy. I think a re-release would be a better name. It's not like a remaster. It's like I feel like that's too heavy of a term for what a lot of remasters are now.
Yeah, it's a bold.
But I'm all about remakes.
Days Gone being a prime example of what you mentioned about re-releases, except they are doubling down and calling it Days Gone Remastered. I'm pretty sure it's called that anyway.
I'm actually really excited for the Metal Gear remakes.
Oh yeah,
those are going to be great.
The stories in those are great, and at this point, controls are just a little clunky.
Just update the graphics, get a bit more, user
the Metal Gear Solid 5 movement in there. That's all you need. And you're good to go.
Yeah, it's great. Can't wait for those. But what was the one, Sean, that we were talking about before, where it was a remaster or remake or something, and it was like imperceivable difference between the two?
Days Gone. I just mentioned it a couple.
That was Days Gone.
Because because it like I said, they are calling it like Days Gone Remastered. That's what they're.
I don't know if it's even 5 years old. Right?
A lot of them are.
That's what they're dropping it as, and it's like you said, it's unnoticeably different from the previews that they've shown publicly. Anyway, it's unnoticeably different to the original.
Right.
A lot of it is just enthusiast pandering, or it's just getting the game back out there again, so someone sees the name out there again and goes, "Oh, I haven't played that. I guess I could." And now there's just a little bit better version out. Buy that instead, I guess.
Generally, sometimes it's the new version is the worst one. That's
PlayStation games at least are doing really good about hey, if you own the game already, this upgrade's like $5-10, so you don't have to like buy it again. You just get the little graphic update.
Days Gone is doing that.
Nice.
Days Gone.
I hate to say it, but Nintendo's pretty bad about that, though. As far as
we're
gonna release this again. I know you bought it for Wii. I know you had it on the GameCube. Thank you. But
yes, we know this game's gold. Thank you. That's why it's still $60.
Yeah, and like the Mario 64 package that they did, that was
limited time. Real weird.
Yeah,
it was limited time.
Yeah, you can't get it anymore.
Yeah,
you had like 6 months to buy it, and then after that, it was gone forever. I don't know what I don't know what that thought process was. I don't know. Real weird. I got it though.
All right. I think it's time to wrap up unless anyone's got any last second thoughts.
I'm all done.
Done, Peter?
Pretty good coverage. Yep.
Okay, well, I'll just say again, very big thank you to Mr. Matthew McCleskey for coming on for 2 hours on your Sunday afternoon. I really appreciate that. It's a really big deal. Thank you.
Yeah, it was fun.
Absolutely.
So all of Matthew's YouTube and his Twitch are going to be at the top of the description. You should definitely click and have a look. Matthew is live, or at least appears to be live a lot of the time. So if you click on his stuff, you'll probably see him live, and you should definitely do that.
Wait, Sunday usually, right?
Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday.
Sunday, Tuesday, Wednesday. All right.
Excellent. Well, and also thank you, Peter, once again.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, that's all. Thank you very much.
All righty. Talk to you guys later.
Take care, guys.